Good day, everyone. Good day. Thank you for tuning in. It's King B News and Views. Good day, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in your part of the world, whatever time it is in your part of the world. You're tuning into this video. All right, so important news right here. This is important news. I am on this is the Office of Public Affairs, U.S. Department of Justice website, www.justice.gov. And you see the title on the screen. This press release, they released this press release Monday, July 1st, and didn't really see any news, or at least I didn't see any news of many people covering this, because too many people is talking about what's going on in sports or what's going on in entertainment. But U.S. Marshals find 200 missing children across the nation during Operation We Will Find You Too. All right, that's what the operation was called, and they found 200 missing children. So let's get into this. The U.S. Marshals Service, or USMS, along with federal, state, and local agencies and 7 federal judicial districts and geographical locations across the United States, led a 6-week national operation that resulted in finding 200 critically missing children, which includes endangered runaways and those abducted by non-custodial persons. All right. Operation We Will Find You Too, the second of its kind nationwide missing child operation, was conducted from May 20th to June 24th and focused on geographical areas with high clusters of critically missing children. Children who go missing may be in serious danger and can be vulnerable to child sex trafficking, abuse, exploitation, and other crimes against children. With technical assistance from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, OWWFY2 resulted in the recovery and removal of 123 children from dangerous situations. An additional 77 missing children were located and found to be in safe locations. According to law enforcement or child welfare agencies, of the 200 children found, 173 were endangered runaways. Wow, 173 endangered runaways. And that's just, that's that's extremely difficult to deal with. For the moms and dads out there, or families out there, when you're dealing with a runaway, you have a child who's a runaway, right? That's a very, I would say, extremely difficult situation to deal with when you're, and not every all circumstances is different, but when you're trying to reach a troubled youth and then it's not hearing you, for whatever reasons. They got someone else in their ear who they listening to. Some situations is this is dangerous situation, and they feel like they have no choice but to run away. But either way, it's very dangerous. It is a very difficult situation to deal with. Even more so for the child, for the children who are runaways. Very, very difficult for them. Let's continue. 25 were considered otherwise missing. 1 was a family abduction and 1 was a non-family abduction. The youngest child recovered was 5 months old. 14 of the children were found outside the city where they went missing. Additionally, of the missing children recovered, 57% were recovered within 7 days of the USMS assisting with the case. The honor words describe the terror felt by missing children, their families, and their communities, said Attorney General Merrick B. Garland. I am grateful to the dedicated professionals in the U.S. Marshals Service and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children who worked to find 200 critically missing children during this 6-week operation and who work every day to keep children safe. One of the most sacred missions of U.S. Marshals Service is locating and recovering our nation's critically missing children, said USMS Director Ronald L. Davis. This is one of our top priorities as there remain thousands of children still missing and at risk. Operation We Will Find You is a shining example of the results we can achieve when we unite in our mission to find missing children, said President and CEO Michelle DeLon of NCMEC. We are grateful that vulnerable children have been recovered as part of this operation, and we commend the U.S. Marshals Service and all the agencies involved for their commitment to protect youth and ensure these children are not forgotten. Behind every statistic, there is a child who deserves to grow up safe from harm. The operation was conducted from the following locations: District of Arizona, Phoenix, Glendale, Goodyear, Tucson, South Tucson, and Pima counties; Eastern District of California, San Joaquin County, Stockton, and Sacramento County; Southern District of Florida, Broward, St. Lucie, Martin, Palm Beach, and Miami-Dade counties; Western District of Michigan, Kent, Lake, Ingham, and Ottawa counties; Eastern District of North Carolina, New Hanover, Brunswick, Harnett, Onslow, Pitt, Wake, Johnston, Robeson, Cumberland, Sampson, Nash, and Pender counties; Southern and Eastern Districts of New York, New York City, and District of Oregon, Multnomah, I'm pretty sure I said that wrong, Washington, and Deschutes County, as well as Portland and Eugene and the Warm Springs Reservation. The goal of the OWWFY2 was to highlight partnerships amongst government and non-government agencies to develop a multidisciplinary team whose focus was to pull together resources to find critically missing children and bring more attention to the epidemic of missing children in America. During the operation, the USMS worked with their respective federal, state, and local law enforcement partners, NCMEC, the Department of Children and Family Services, and other agencies to safely find missing children at risk of endangerment. These missing children were considered some of the most challenging recovery cases in the area based on indications of high-risk factors such as victimization of child sex trafficking, child exploitation, sexual abuse, physical abuse, and medical or mental health conditions. In addition, other children who had been reported missing were located at the request of law enforcement to ensure they were safe and to confirm the child's location. The Justice for Victims of Trafficking Act of 2015 enhanced the USMS authority to assist law enforcement with recovering endangered missing children, regardless of whether a fugitive or sex offender was involved. The USMS established a missing child unit to oversee and manage the implementation of its enhanced authority under the Act. Members of the USMS Sex Offender Investigations Branch Behavioral Analysis Unit and Missing Child Unit began training personnel in the participating locations months before the operation to ensure that case selection, vetting, and all pre-operational requirements were met. All right. And then it just continues on. All right, so let's, they got some links here. Just like videos and photos, posters. Significant recoveries. Western District of Michigan. On January 11th, a 16-year-old female child was reported missing from her home in Edwardsburg, Michigan, by her legal guardian. Information obtained through interviews showed the child was likely with a 30-year-old adult male somewhere in the state of Indiana. The investigation showed the child was likely being controlled and abused by the adult male. During the investigation, operation personnel learned information that the child had either attempted to get away from the adult male multiple times or the child wanted to do so. The child was in a difficult and dangerous situation, especially since she had traveled across state lines and was now in a new state, a long distance from where she was first reported missing. The adult male had recent photos of cash and firearms on his social media profile, including one photo where the adult male is apparently pointing a handgun with an extended magazine at the missing child. USMS identified multiple warrants for the adult male from multiple states, including Michigan. The USMS determined a likely location for the adult male and the child in Indiana. A collateral lead request was sent by the Western District of Michigan to the Northern District of Indiana and the Great Lakes Regional Fugitive Task Force. On June 13th, USMS personnel attempted to arrest the adult male and recover the child at an apartment in Hammond, Indiana. The adult male jumped out of a window and attempted to flee the area, but was apprehended by a police canine before his eventual arrest. USMS personnel located the child safely in the apartment and released her to Child Protective Services. And that's just one case. And here's another case, Southern District of Florida. On May 13th, a 15-year-old female was reported missing by her legal guardian. Information indicated that she might be staying at other people's houses or sleeping in parks in Miami-Dade, Florida. During the investigation, it was discovered the child had become a victim of human trafficking in the Miami-Dade area. On June 7th, personnel from the U.S. Marshals Service, in collaboration with detectives from the Miami Police Department, located the child in an apartment complex in Miami-Dade after an extensive investigative search throughout the city. Upon being recovered, she was debriefed by Florida State Attorney's Office human trafficking personnel and subsequently returned to the Florida Department of Child and Family Services custody. Now, again, that's just rough when some of these young people, these children, these teenagers, they run away and they have the reasons for it, and they hit the streets, but there's nothing good out in those streets. There's nothing good out in them streets. It's hard out there. And even with some of these family services and child services, you got to watch them too. I remember a case, and I don't exactly remember what state this was in, what city, what state. It happened a while ago, but it was someone who worked for Child Protective Services that was involved in trafficking children. You understand? So you can't even, it's you got to watch them too. Now they turn these children over to family services and child services, but after that, we got to make sure the children are being returned to their legal guardians or to their families. Because you got to watch them too. Just like you got to watch law enforcement. When the trafficking is a huge problem, more than we know. And you have all type of devils involved in it. They in law enforcement, they in family services, child protective services. You understand? That's why I say, we have to, as a community, we have to do a much better job in communicating with each other, showing love, and talking to each other, protecting our children, our family. I stress communication and talking to each other, because usually, when you don't talk enough, when you don't express yourself enough, and sit down calmly and have real conversations, real communication, it can lead to negative energy, a negative situation, and it just festers and it just grows. And the next you know, you have all sorts of problems because people are just simply aren't talking enough. And when you're dealing with a child or children, you add that children into the mix, a child into the mix, it becomes even worse. Everybody suffers, more so the child and the children. You know. So let's continue. District of Arizona, on April 16th, a 16-year-old was reported missing after she ran away from her group home in Phoenix. The female has a history of being sex trafficked. The investigation revealed the child was in Los Angeles, possibly being sex trafficked. The suspected trafficker was murdered in Los Angeles on May 25th. The child told a family member she was going on vacation to Miami, but when she got there, her new trafficker dropped her off at the beach and told her to make money. On June 11th, the child was located by USMS in Flint, Michigan, in a hotel and was taken into custody on an outstanding arrest warrant for a probation violation. Her male associate was arrested on local charges for driving without a license and insurance. An additional 20-year-old female was identified in the hotel. The suspected trafficking case was referred to Homeland Security investigations, and they will continue to investigate the case. Now, let's hold on a second. So, she's 16 and she ran away from a group home in Phoenix. Has a history of being sex trafficked. Sex trafficking was, the child told a family member she was going on vacation in Miami, but when she got there, see, and who was this family member? So she's in a group home. She runs away from a group home, 16 years old. And apparently, who keep contact with a family member, and this family member didn't say nothing. This family member didn't communicate with the rest of the family. That's a head. I mean, definitely need more context when it comes to this particular story right here. But who is this family member that this 16-year-old told what's going on? Hey, I'm going on vacation in Miami. She has a history of being sex trafficked in a group home. Who is this family member who just, wow. I'm kind of at a loss for words for that one. I mean, for this particular one in Arizona. Why was she, this 16-year-old, in the group home? Was she there because what's the situation with that? I mean, because there could be, there's different reasons. See, it's not always, when you're dealing with a runaway, it's not always cut and dry as far as, well, they had to be going through some type of abuse at home. That's not always the case. Unfortunately, and it's just the truth. Sometimes you have young people just want to do what they want to do, just don't want to listen. It's not always a case of where they're dealing with some type of abuse at home. There's numerous reasons why these situations happen. Sometimes it could be as simple as dysfunctional, a dysfunctional family, period. The family is dysfunctional. And I guess, what, just speaking that, there is, I mean, that's still a form of abuse. emotional abuse, mental abuse, energy being way off, too much negative energy, and the child or children react. You know? Let's continue. New York/New Jersey Regional Task Force. On November 3rd, 2023, a 16-year-old female was reported in the National Crime Information Center as missing from New York City, New York Administration for Children's Services, and was a prior victim of human trafficking. On May 1st, 2024, the New York City Police Department Missing Persons Unit requested USMS assistance in recovering the missing child. On June 3rd, New York USMS Regional Fugitive Task Force members executed 2 arrest warrants for a 27-year-old male who was the primary subject of an ongoing investigation into the whereabouts of the missing minor who was being sexually exploited by the adult male. Upon execution of the warrant, the child was found in the male's bedroom, and evidence of sexual exploitation was found at the premise. The child was placed in the care of ACS and transported to the hospital for medical treatment. A lot going on in New York City. You know, a lot is going on in New York City. And it has been going on in New York City. New York City is one of the biggest cities, right? And it's like, in a city as big as New York, it's easy to get lost for those who are up to no good. You know, but this right here, this is just a case on that's on the surface. But what about them underground tunnels? What about the case recently that happened not too long ago in Brooklyn, right? Where they went into to this temple and they found underground tunnels and dirty mattresses and all kinds of. Apparently, they were. They had children underground there. I'm not going to say the community because if I do, you know, rhymes with do, I'm pretty sure YouTube going to strike my channel. So I'm not going to say the community, but if you listen to what I'm saying, you remember the story. It happened. What was it this year? Early this year, right? And they was fighting the New York City Police Department, but yet they had tunnels underground, and they was coming up out of the ground under the vents under the ground. Like they had these vents underground. It was coming up like it's like rats in Brooklyn. They wound up claiming that the tunnels was supposed to have been for another some nonsense that wasn't true, but they found all type of used mattresses and cribs and everything else under there. What about that? We ever heard no more of that, right? We heard nothing else from that story, but yeah. And they're the biggest ones when it comes to trafficking children. And as I said before, you got law enforcement involved in it. People who work for family services and child protective agencies. Some of them are involved in it when it comes to trafficking. It's huge. All right, it's bigger than what most people know. All right, let's continue. Eastern District of North Carolina. On April 29th, a 1-year-old was reported missing in the Raleigh, North Carolina Police Department, and her mother neglected to surrender her to the Department of Social Services. The RPD requested assistance from the USMS in finding the missing child. The child's mother was previously convicted for her actions in the strangulation, assault, and death of one of her children, a 4-year-old boy. Additionally, she was wanted on a felony probation violation pertaining to the original charge of cruelty toward a child. On May 15th, USMS personnel and RPD personnel arrested the child's mother without incident in Raleigh. The missing 1-year-old was subsequently safely recovered in Raleigh by USMS investigators and handed over to DSS custody. Now, what's going to happen with that? With this with the 1-year-old now that's in DSS custody? See, and this is what I'm talking about. Once they handed over this 1-year-old to DSS, but as a community, we need to follow up on that and to find out, okay, now what's going to happen with this child? Because that's not the end of the story. As I said, and I'm going to keep saying it because it's the truth. You got to watch these agencies. There's a lot of devils in these agencies. It's not as simple, okay, the child is safe, they found the child is handled over DSS or whatever, Child Protective Agency. That's not the end of the story. We need to keep eyes on a situation like this to make sure the child is really safe and is in good hands. Because these devils are everywhere. You can't just say, okay, well, the child is safe now, DSS got the child. Or whatever Child Protective Agency has the child. And then that's it. No, that's not it. Eastern District of California, on October 26, 2023, a 17-year-old female was reported missing by a legal guardian. Information obtained revealed that she was likely staying with her older adult sister, who was a known prostitute. The child's older sister was recently arrested and on pre-trial release for human trafficking, pimping, and pandering. On May 30th, USMS personnel determined that the child and her adult sister were staying at a known prostitution and trafficking motel in Oakland, California. USMS personnel from the Eastern District of California coordinated with USMS personnel in the Northern District of California to establish a location for the child and her sister. Management at the hotel confirmed that both sisters had 2 rooms and had been staying there for some time with an unknown adult male. At one point, USMS observed the 3 individuals leave the rooms and began packing their car. Once inside the vehicle, the USMS was able to safely move in and detain all 3 individuals. The child was then turned over to authorities. District of Oregon, on May 21st, a 12-year-old female went missing from her family home in Portland, Oregon, and have reported allegations of sexual abuse by family members. Law enforcement officers contacted the child through her cell, and she agreed to meet them at a grocery store in the Portland area. The officers received a call back from the child and a friend stating that her father was trying to pull her into his car and she was scared. USMS investigators were able to intervene and separate the endangered child from her father. The child told law enforcement that she had been The child told law enforcement that she had been assaulted in the worst way by 2 Hispanic males and that her father touched her inappropriately. On May 24th, the child was safely recovered and placed in a foster home while the Oregon Department of Human Services investigated the allegations. Within 24 hours of being placed in foster care, the foster family kicked the child out of their home. Wow. The child then called a deputy U.S. Marshal that had built rapport with her to ask for assistance. The DUSM subsequently contacted DHS to report the incident. As a result, DHS placed the child in a state-run shelter. Wow, 12 years old. You know, and it's the trauma. For a lot of these children, even at a young age, they've already gone through at such a short time in their life so much trauma, and they're damaged. Right? They have all this. They're filled with all this negative energy, demonic energy, because of trauma. Trauma opens the door to negative energy, malevolent energy, demonic energy. This is what trauma does. Okay? And it just sets that child up to have to deal with this negative energy for most of their life, even in their adulthood, through their young adult life. You know? And then it becomes multi-generational, because you got people who never deal with the trauma. They're out of control. And they're filled with all this malevolent energy, all this demonic energy, due to the trauma they have dealt with and suffered in their life when they were a child. And they never deal with it, don't know how to deal with it, never had any assistance or on help on how to deal with it. They just been on their own and running wild. They have children, because you're a hurt person filled with all this negative energy because of the trauma you've endured, and you connect with someone else. Now there's another child born, and it just continues. That energy flows. You don't know how to have a successful life, household, stable, positive energy, because you've never had that. You've dealt with trauma and negative energy since you was a child. And so you project that and you put that on your loved ones, your child, your children, whatever other adult that you're in a relationship with. And it just continues. And now you got another children, this dysfunction is passed on to, and now they have to deal with that. See, this is why it's important to really get into yourself and do the work. Learn to work out and exercise those energies. Look for resources where you can get help and assistance. If you just don't know where to start, look for what are the resources in your area. Look for resources and get the help you need, so you can learn how to deal, and you can learn and start to heal. Right? So you can learn how to eventually break the cycle. But this is King B News and Views. I'm going to end this video here. I just wanted to do this story because I haven't seen much of anybody talking about this at all. So this is what's going on, right? Thoughts and positive energy to all the children. May they find the strength to heal and the love that they need. All right. Shout out to each and every one of you. Shout out to my subscribers. Appreciate each and every one of you. If you're not subscribed, subscribe to the channel. Click the notification bell to alls. Whenever I drop a video, you will be notified. Check out my previous videos. A lot of important information there. This is King B News and Views. Love yourself unconditionally. Keep your loved ones close. As I always say, protect the children, protect our babies and our women. Shout out to all the natural born women out there. Shout out to each and every one of you who is tuned in. All right? Let's talk, communicate, do a better job of communicating for ourselves, especially for our children, our loved ones. Let's watch each other's backs. We need each other more than ever, especially with everything that's going on now. We need each other more than ever. All right? This is King B News and Views. To the next video. Peace.